something serious.
Serious.
So this something serious, you guys, is actually something I think is going to be really cool. I know we can get really heated about it because we got really heated about it already.
You got really heated
Well,
about it already.
I was yelling at Peter, and Peter was yelling at me, and it was for real.
Yeah, we just kind of like
He
sat
was just
back
trying
and
to
watched
yell
it.
over you to get you to stop talking.
No, but I'm louder than him, so that's the problem here.
Which is why he was yelling.
Yeah.
It just kept escalating. It never stopped.
No, it did not.
When should a gaming company cut its losses? And we want to kind of hit every spectrum there. So, like, when should a console cut its losses and make a new console? When should a game cut its losses and move on? When should a game maybe hold back and wait for a new console to come out that can maybe suit their game a little bit more? I know, Zach, you had some good thoughts on this. I'm going to talk to you while you're yawning over there. I'm going to try and fill in this empty space.
All right, let me get a little hyped. Woo! Moving on. So one of the biggest thing here, and I think we all know about it, is Final Fantasy 15 finally got announced coming out on PS4. But when the first thing came out about it, it was supposed to be a PS3 launch, and it was supposed to coincide with Final Fantasy 13. It was supposed to be called 13 Versus. Square made a smart decision to not do that after seeing what happened with 13 and the sales not being so hot, especially after the sequel. And they scrapped the project, and it was a business decision to move it to the next unit, which would be more graphically impactful, and they would be able to build a new combat system around it since nobody really liked too much. If you're a fan of it, I'm sorry. Final Fantasy 13's combat system.
Yeah, the paradigm shift system.
Right. So they had the same story. It was going to be really good, and they moved a few pieces around, and then they recasted some stuff, have new additions to the family, different hardware. It's going to make the game better. It was a smart decision not to release that game on PS3, but it's like I'm sure they took a lot of loss for it because that game's been in development for a long time.
Yes, it has.
So
They've even come out to say that they have to make a certain amount in its lifetime in order to make a profit on it.
no, it's not at all.
No,
so they
that-
said
that-
10
yeah,
million
it's a little
units for it to be their level of success.
Oh, for
they
the
want
concern.
because they want series spin-offs. Like they want it to be like another.
I guess I misunderstood that. Then.
No, it's okay. A lot of that's not at all. Like a lot of people spun it on media pages. Like Square has said, if it doesn't sell 2 million copies, they're at a loss. Like that's not true. Go listen to him, watch the interviews, read through the subtitles. Like he's just like, oh, in-house to be a success, we want to sell 10 million units in its lifetime, not even at its launch.
Yep.
So the game could run for 10 years and get a patch like at year 9. If it sells another copy, they're cool.
They're
with
good
it.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also run into situations like I feel like that was just obviously a really smart move for them. Obviously, they put it on a console. It's going to sell a lot better. It's got a lot more hype. It's going to flow better. It's just going to be a better game than if they had tried to push it forward. And another one is actually the one that we were discussing earlier is like the Wii U. So
this is kind of current too.
yeah, there's a big amount of hype right now. So obviously when the Wii U came out, there was like, there's going to be this Zelda game for the Wii U, Zelda U. It's going to be fantastic. They showed us trailers at E3. Next year, they scrapped that and said, hey, we scrapped that project. We started a new one. They showed us a second trailer. Then we're like, all right, cool. Now there's talk about that Zelda never hitting the Wii U and just coming out on the NX. And a lot of people are really upset by that, by saying, hey, we were told that we were going to get this. This would be the first console ever since like Zelda's launch that doesn't have a Zelda game on it. Like, what's going on? People are really upset about that.
I know there was a lot of people. That's the only reason they got a Wii U was because
Yeah, a lot
Zelda
of
was
people.
going to come out.
Yeah,
And
and they said we got Hyrule Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Like a washout of
Yeah,
like
well,
what
but
we
and
expected.
they had made it pretty clear at the beginning of the Wii U that there was going to be a Zelda game. I mean, did they outright straight up say you will get a Zelda game with this? No, but they hinted at it.
Well,
They
it's not even
alluded
hint,
to
like,
it. All
They
kinds
showed
of
us
stuff.
trailers.
They showed us
Yeah,
trailers
exactly, yeah.
and like flaunted it, and they're like,
Yep.
on
The
the
different
release,
hair
on
colors.
the release,
Sold it to us.
Yeah, they
Yes,
pretty much
exactly.
prematurely sold it. And then not only that, but like Nintendo's algorithm for all their systems, there's one Super Smash, there's one Zelda, except for 64, I got 2.
Yep.
And then it's like you always get like one of different Mario.
Yeah.
One Mario. Come on now.
800
800 Mario. Mario Sluggers Tennis, Super Ball, whatever. Blitzball Mario.
At least one Mario.
At least.
Yeah.
And I know like everyone's losing their mind and they're really upset. I'm personally on the other side, and that's actually what we kind of like were arguing about earlier. Is personally, I think they should follow the Final Fantasy suit for it. They have this idea, and obviously like they've changed like everything about the game. That was very clear when they showed you a second trailer and said we scrapped the old project. they obviously have a very advantageous goal with this new Zelda game. They want it to be something that the other games weren't. They want it to be over the top. They want it to be new. They want it to feel fresh. And I think if that takes them putting it on the new console, we skip a generation. The Wii U's obviously been it's like the worst selling console in history.
It's bad.
If they can cut that loss, say, you know what, we made a mistake, I think that'd be a huge move from Nintendo. Nintendo is always about, like, they were just so, like, stubborn about, like, no, we're going to drag this out and you're going to love this and we're going to, like, force you to, like, love our product. For them to say, look, we messed up. This console isn't what it needs to be. The game we want's not going to run on this console and we're going to put it on a new console. I think that's a smart move. That might not be why Nintendo's doing it, but it is a smart move by them. I think it's a good business decision.
I think the reason they're doing it is so they could sell the NX.
And that could be true.
Because imagine that game or that system coming out and you have a Zelda game at launch.
Yeah, that'd be huge. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I agree, it's going to sell it. There's already talk about Sun and Moon, like having NX tie-ins and stuff like that, like the Pokemon games.
Even and we know this has to happen. Like their amiibo feature has to carry over to the NX.
Oh,
like,
yeah. They get murdered otherwise.
That thing is $1 million, like drop in the hat, needs to happen without any expectation. So it's exciting to see like what else could come out. And here's the weird part too. So with the Wii U, it's gotten like these weird wishy-washy Zeldas. It's had 3, right? It's got the Twilight Princess re-release. Mm-hmm. It's got the Wind Waker re-release.
Yeah, it does.
And then it's got the Hyrule Warriors, which has a whole bunch of DLC. So it's like, I think they've flooded it enough. Even though some of them are re-releases, I get it. I think it does need to jump ship.
Yep.
Because I think it's their Final Fantasy 15.
Exactly.
They've also switched presidents, so they're not in the same boat that they were. They have somebody that has maybe a different thought process on it, and they really do follow what the top of the chain says versus any other company.
Yep.
So
I'm with you guys on this one 100%. I really do think that they should move on past the Wii U. I understand that people felt like they were promised something, and they basically were. I mean, let's not mince words about it.
Right.
They should be getting a Zelda. They really should be. But if this is going to be what's better for the fans, not only a better business decision, as Brandon has already said, but it can make a better game for the fans to be happy with, then I think it's also the right decision.
Yep.
So look at the other side of this too, right? So let's say this game, they make this announcement this E3, right? Or whenever they do their Nintendo Direct. And they're like, the Zelda game we've been showing you, we want to push it more. We hope you're okay. It's going to the NX instead of the Wii U. I think the fans are going to be a little spiteful, but like, how would you feel if the NX came out and then like 2 years tick by and you still don't have that game in your hands?
I think that would be pretty fucked up.
There's definitely a lot that could go wrong with here.
So
and
like,
Nintendo sadly would be the company who would allow it to go wrong.
Yep.
As much as I love Nintendo, I mean, everybody knows here I'm a fan. We have a freaking Pokemon shrine right over there. I love Nintendo.
It's a Pikachu shrine.
It's a Pikachu shrine.
It is. It is.
Poser.
I'm
kidding.
Let's see your Pokemon tattoo. Let's see it. Whip it out. Throw it on
show you
the
my
table.
Okay, let me show you on my tan leg with blonde hair.
I'll show you my Gyarados.
Is it a red shiny?
It can be.
Oh, good God.
Then there are situations that are ridiculous. So let's use The Last Guardian, which started production on the PS2.
That's not even.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the last Guardian
10
isn't
years
even a
ago.
game.
is now on the PS3, has now moved to the PS4, and we
still don't got shit.
have like no information.
Nope.
What okay, so we went to PSX last year.
An on-stage playthrough of it has been like the most any of us has seen. Because like it first started with like Shadow of the Colossus 2. It was like, it's got to be Shadow of the Colossus 2. Look at this giant fluffy animal, and it looked almost like Eco Meek's like a horrible Shadow of the Colossus game, and I was like,
It was Falcor from the Neverending
I was
Story.
like, this is really weird. If it comes out on PS2, great. If it doesn't,
What I've
whatever.
noticed about The Last Guardian is all it looks like is just a really large open world platformer.
puzzle.
Puzzle platformer, okay?
Puzzle.
Why does that take a puzzle former?
Jesus Christ.
Why does it take like almost 15 years?
Why does it take almost 15 years to make a puzzle platformer when someone could sit down on Mario Maker and do it in a night?
You know what they've been working on the whole
Good
time?
point.
I know why. It's because they haven't been working on the game. When we were at PSX last year, they had an interactive Last Guardian where you actually got to interact with like the creature thing.
Shut
and you had,
up.
No, it was like
it
literally
behind
on a
him
screen.
on a projector.
And like you could like pick up things and he would like interact with you. You like pretended to throw it at him. He would get mad. He'd like come. Like it was fully interactive. It was really cool. We have some video of it.
That's what they've been spending their time with.
That's what they've been working on. That's it. They're like,
That
forget
is
the game.
Lamest thing. It sounds like it's going to be.
I can't wait till it's an
game.
app on my phone.
What? Okay, 100%.
I'm gonna feed him everything.
The one thing that will make me buy this game is if they include. I've said it before. I'll say it a million times because this game's going to take a million years to come out. If they include a book explaining what the fuck happened with the development of this game, I will buy that collector's. You can
Just
charge
for
me
the book.
Give me the game and that book for $250. You'll have my money because I am interested. I want to fucking know.
Well, here's my other side of that too. So like, I think, and I've said it in passing. I don't know if this is for certain, but like, it might get a VR feature to it. Like,
could.
I totally can see it. 2 people could play this game. One person could be the giant bunny. And the other person could be
It's
the
more like a
kid.
ferret.
The kid could run around with like simple controls on a controller, and the other person could have the headset, and he's the beast, and the only thing he's got to do is look at something for a while, and then the creature would move. Like, I can see it. Do I think that's the reason it's been on hold this damn
No,
time?
good God,
Absolutely
no.
not.
You know what it's going to end up being? It's the VR feature is going to be a lot like that game for the Dreamcast, Seaman.
Oh my God!
Where you
yes.
put it on, and you just talk to it the whole time, and it's like your virtual pet.
Well,
like
I'm
honestly,
gonna kill
Tamagotchi
myself.
in
That's
3D.
horrible.
that idea is not completely like absurd to think
No.
because maybe when they were developing it on the PS2, it was in thought to make it to the PS3 with the PlayStation camera. PlayStation camera comes out, totally flops. They
Tanks.
go, okay, we can't really make this huge game that we've been working on for 10 years and put it on the PlayStation camera. So like, we're just gonna wait till the next
So
thing
yeah,
comes
then
out.
they're- they change the way it works,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden VR comes out. Then they're going to change the way it works again.
And then a new console comes out, and they're like, "Well, fuck. Okay, so we have to put on the new console now. Okay, now
The
we have to
Last
make
Guardian, the last time you ever hear about
Exactly.
it. Again.
And that goes right to the topic of what we're talking about right now. That shit needs to get scrapped.
Yep.
No more Last Guardian, who nobody gives a shit at this point.
I do.
Because all you do is tease us with something every 3 to 4 years.
I do. I
Everybody
absolutely
gets
do.
happy and then it dies again.
Yep.
Shadows of the Colossus, yeah, it was great for the time. It was good for the PS2. Ico was great for the time, good for the PS2. Going forward in the future, I just don't see a fan base for this game. Last Guardian needs to be gone.
it's another Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh God! See,
So-
and you bring it up
No,
again.
absolutely not.
So
Okay?
where is
No.
the?
Yes.
There's no way in hell.
So we've discussed this. We've talked about good ones. We've talked about bad ones. Where's the cutoff? At what point should something be
like
scrapped?
if you were the head of your own company, like when would you make the decision? Like
Well-
when would you go to that studio and be like,
They've made that
this is done,
investment.
or when would you make the decision?
Okay, if I was the head of the company, if this company announced it for the PlayStation 2, I would give them to the beginning or the end of the next console.
Okay, so now that
That would
company,
be what I would do.
Now your company spent $1 million. Is it worth just scrapping and saying
On-
we're going to get
Yes,
no
absolutely.
return?
Over 8 years.
Spend those
Well,
people. Those
over
people
8
can be
years,
spending
yeah.
their time, their resources, and their talent
the-
now
the
on
thing
something
with-
else. Sometimes you got to cut your losses and
thing
walk
with,
away.
The thing with these companies, though, is you have to realize first they have to accept the fact that it is loss. You know, that's the biggest thing I've seen these big companies do. EA, Nintendo, Sony, these developers, is they're like, this is going to be the best game ever. Gearbox with Duke Nukem Forever was like, this is going to be they try to force this shit upon us. This absolute garbage things that are being pushed out, or they tease us with something that's going to be so epic, and they keep screwing it up over the process of 15 years. And finally, when it comes out, they're like, this is going to be the best things ever. At no time in those 15 years or 10 years or 2 years or whatever it is, did that company sit back and go, maybe this is shit.
But that's what I'm saying
You know?
too. Like some studios, when they're doing these games, like we were just talking about, like there's a Stockholm syndrome to it. Like
Yep.
Yeah,
you're in
there
front
is.
of it.
There
You're in
is.
front of it all day.
Exactly.
Your in-house testers do the same level every day. They don't get to see the full game usually at any point. They're given assignments, and that's the thing too. Is like the reason these indie studios usually make a better game, even on an emotional connection with most players, is because they're small and few in numbers. They don't have to check in with like, so how's the artwork department doing?
Well, you see,
oh, that's the monster
you
I have
see,
to
if
render?
I
Well,
was-
shit, I made one with 4 arms instead of 2.
If I was the business director, if I was the CEO, if I was in charge, whatever you want to put me ahead of, and I had to say, look
Trash
at this company
disposal.
and see, okay, well, why is this not out yet? Why is this not as good as it could be? I have to think of way. I've just invested $35 million into this project,
Right.
over the course of certain years. Why isn't it where it's at? I have to realize that that's a lost investment. And then the second thing I have to realize is, or not realize, but look at is, how do I make profit off of this?
So actually, a company just did that. It was Blizzard. I forget the name of it, but basically, whatever their spiritual successor to WoW was supposed to be.
Oh man, they closed it down.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they
man, what was
actually
it?
they actually scrapped it. They basically were like, the guys came out and said, look,
It's
like,
not fun.
We failed this game fundamentally consistently on every level. That was literally his statement. He's like, the artwork, the game direction, the story. He's like, literally every way we could have failed, we failed this game. It was supposed to be the spiritual successor to WoW. It just fell apart. What they did, though, is they ripped that game apart. They took the parts they liked about it, and they actually built Overwatch with the components of that game. So that was actually a point where a company cut their losses, said, what we put out is garbage. We're done working on it. We're going to scrap it. We're going to take the parts we like, and we're going to make a different game out of it.
And that's just a smart way of using your R&D. Like,
now they
to your
can turn
best
a
ability.
now they can turn a profit.
Now they can turn a profit, yes, but that's something that Blizzard could do. Zach said something that goes to the opposite of that earlier. Smaller companies may not have that option to break apart those things and make something different
But
for it because
usually
they don't have a lot to lean back on.
the
They still
smaller-
lean on WoW.
Smaller companies, though, they can usually get a better insight to it because, like, they don't have, like, a separate art studio. They're usually
That's
talking
true.
to the guy, and they're like, this art sucks, dude. Like, where the hell were you? Where was you? Why don't you have any line work done?
Plus,
and then,
they
like,
build the game as a whole.
whole.
Yeah.
So it's like the guy sitting next to him, it's like, hey, I'm running your code right now in system check, and it's like, it keeps crashing. Like, what did you do last night? And they can have those serious conversations, and it's not like, well, March 3rd to this day at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a business meeting, so everybody bring your fucking portfolios. And it's only the head people going to those meetings.
Bringing this up, though, you have to think about these little small indie companies that are trying to build it up, who've sunk time and their own money into this stuff, look for investors. How many of those have we not heard about? Because
so many.
A lot,
because,
but usually
because all of
their-
a sudden
usually
they
their price
realize,
matches that,
this isn't
though.
good. We're out of money. We can't make a game.
But but like he said, so the price matches him, and those gems, they do float to the top. Like we got Super Meat Boy, brilliant, made by
Fez.
2 guys.
They're the same people, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And then we got the one we're playing right now, Axiom Verge.
And that
One
guy's
dude.
Thomas Happ's like success story is like one of the best ones out there. He was working the entire time as a coding person to another company. It was another studio. So like this guy did like the other work at the same time he went home every night, and he would just put hours and hours and hours into it. Even when he had some downtime at work, he would still put hours of it in his own head and then just go home and just destroy it. And then he came out with Axiom Verge, and like that game's success is one fucking person.
Yeah. And
Because he wanted to put it all in there. And that's the craziest thing. It's one guy. At any point, his game could have gone the complete other direction.
Yeah,
right?
When would he have, if that game wasn't successful, where does he cut his loss?
Nowhere. He would have released it still,
no.
made some money off the
What he's
initial
saying is what
release.
if. What he's
Well,
saying
yeah,
is
what
what
if.
if.
Oh, what if? Then he'd still be working a good job.
Yeah, he'd have a second job.
That's the thing. He'd still have his main job, but now that he's his own guy,
and that's why it's so easy.
His success wasn't based off of too much risk.
And that's
No,
why
yeah,
Blizzard
like,
could so
it's
easily
a good
destroy their
platform.
project and build Overwatch with it because they have so much to lean back on
They don't have
afterwards.
They don't have a lot of risk. I mean, they're losing money, obviously.
Exactly. But these other companies
and
may
that's
not
the
have
thing
that
too.
option.
They didn't lose money off of it.
Because they
they
approached
took
it smart.
They
They
took
approached
it and they turned it into
did
something
else. Yeah, and that's now blowing the fuck up, and it's everywhere. And then they even had their subscription costs from WoW that just kept peddling money in.
Yep.
And that's the same thing with Square too. Now that they have Final Fantasy 14, they have like $10 million every year of just pocket, like
Right.
ready to go, having no issues. Those same people
Mostly
can turn
for
it
people
over.
who forgot to cancel their subscriptions.
Sometimes
maybe.
that does
There's a
happen.
lot of that.
So-
But that's a big part in gaming is there's going to be risk and there's going to be rewards. There's people who take that risk and are super successful. Like we were just talking about some of those indie developers. You even look at like somebody like CD Projekt Red who put out Witcher. They were a relatively small company beforehand. They put out that game. Like Witcher 3 blew up. That game's notoriety
So
versus like
good.
1
I
and
gotta
2
go back and finish it.
was
Still. I'll be
amazing.
honest.
I just did.
We can look at some of these smaller companies like people who put out like Shadow Chernobyl or Stalker.
That
Yeah.
game was fantastic.
Very small Russian development group.
Fantastic. One of the best first-person shooters I've ever played.
They're absolutely amazing games, but the risk in those was huge. It still is because it's coming from a country with a bad economy. It's coming from in a time where people weren't exactly playing these kinds of games. They put it out there, they won. But now they're releasing all these more. They're building their company. But at any moment in time, if they put a new title out and it fails, they're done.
But you prove yourself to a good point though. Like if their stuff is so bad that they have it in, like they have all the more reason and passion to actually make something worth a damn to get out of that situation. And it's usually how you find most of your gems, the stuff floating to the top. It's not made by the people that have been in a AAA standpoint. Usually it's the people that leave AAAs and they're like, this isn't fucking video games. I'm going to make Bastion. I'm going to make Transistor, right? I'm going to make,
Respawn was AAA. People leave AAA to create AAA, but
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, at the end of it, though, it's just like any business. There's going to be risk. There's going to be rewards. Sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it's not. And as a company, if you have the money to keep going, it's your call to keep going.
Yep.
And if you want to cut your losses and move on to something else like Blizzard did, there's a right and a wrong. I'd like to, see what you guys, who's still waiting for, Last Guardian, who's upset about the Zelda maybe not coming to the Wii U. Let us know. Leave a comment below. I'm really interested to hear some outside opinions on these.
And the thing to take away from it is I think we came to that understanding, like there's no clear-cut decision unless we're in that seat.
Correct.
So like a lot of
absolutely.
people out there, I know they like to spread the negativity or have just clickbait titles, but like there's no way you could understand the decision of these studios being closed sometimes
unless you're there.
unless you're there and you're a part of it, and there's no way you understand what position they're in because they could have a success story by next week.
Yep.
So it's crazy.